In the first part of this video, we're going to talk a little bit about how the setup of PartsTech happens in your protractor. So typically you're going to go to the PartsTech website and sign up. Then if you have any credentials for any of your online suppliers, you can enter them into the supplier setup area of PartsTech. So in here, as in Protractor, we can actually do it that way. You can also have a vendor already set up in Protractor. So here I have a couple of working vendors, O'Reilly and Napa, and I can still connect it to PartsTech. So basically, once you're set up, you're going to come into the system and you're going to hit add. And then when you hit add, you're going to come in and set up a supplier. You're going to, set up as PartsTech. You're going to have your supplier settings. You want to make sure this support online order box is checked. And then under supplier connection, what you're going to do is, set it for PartsTech. You're going to put your username and your API key that PartsTech will furnish you. So at this point here, this is where you're going to map it to any of these online suppliers. So if I come up to map suppliers, you'll notice I have Napa and I have O'Reilly. And see, these are the two suppliers that I already have set up in my system. So the way you'll do that is you'll just open it up and then you're going to pick, the appropriate supplier. So because I have it set like that for these two vendors, that allows you on the work order to be able to access the vendor directly here or through PartsTech. So you can do it either way. So sometimes you might have online connections that you're not actually setting up in here, but you still want to operate them through PartsTech. So to do that, what you're going to do is go to your supplier list. So I'm going to go down to the left side to the suppliers. And you'll notice you see I have one for AutoZone, but it's not actually set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click and open it up. Check what type of suppliers. I want to make sure I do support online order. Okay. Now, I do not have to set up any account number or anything like that here. In the catalog setting, I just leave it as none. And then when I click OK, now that's going to be over in my list here. So if I go to online suppliers, you'll see I have it now at the bottom of the list. And I'm just going to drag it up here. You can put it wherever you want in your list here. So I'm going to open PartsTech back up. I'm going to go to connection setting, map suppliers, and now I can map it to AutoZone. So whether you have the connections already set up in your system or not, you can still map to the PartsTech. It just depends on how you want to see it. So I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to go do a save. So let's go see how this works. So I'm going to go over to a work order. We're going to go look up an air filter. So you see what I'm doing is I'm looking at my local here. In other words, my direct right to the vendor, O'Reilly, Napa. And then if I want to see them, I go to PartsTech. And when I go to PartsTech, then it's going to load my AutoZone, my Napa, and my O'Reilly. Now, if I went to just AutoZone by itself, it's not going to work because we're mapping it directly through PartsTech and not having a connection set up in the protractor. So in the rest of this video, we're just going to go through operations. How do I look up parts, the differences between the two? How do I place orders? How do I receive, all the steps for that. So in this section here, we're going to look up a part using our standard lookup and the PartsTech, and then we're going to actually bring the part back from PartsTech and then place the order and receive it. So it's just real basics. So I'm going to just select the oil filter. Now what I'm going to do at this point here is I'm going to go to my right click and I'm going to catalog lookup. So here I'm just going to look up the one part. So here I'm launching my O'Reilly, my Napa, and my PartsTech and my inventory. If you notice on O'Reilly, on this one here, this part number, this FL500S, it shows that I have 10 in stock and they have 14 at the store. So again, if I wanted to order this or pull it from inventory, I would click, hit apply, and it's going to give me the choice. That's just the standard lookup. It's going to be a little bit different with PartsTech. So with PartsTech, I click on it, it's going to launch all my vendors. So here I have AutoZone, Napa, and O'Reilly. So if I go to O'Reilly, for example, you'll notice I do have that same filter. But I do not know at this point in time if I actually have it in inventory. So the way to find out would be to add to cart. Okay. So now you notice I got one in my cart. And then when I go to the bottom right corner and click on the blue arrow, that's going to bring it back. Now, once it gets back to this screen, that's when it will check to see if I have it in inventory. Now, if I want to order this, I click apply, tell it I'm going to purchase, and I click OK. So that brings the information back to the work order. If I go down to my purchases at the bottom, you'll notice I have one part waiting to be ordered through PartsTech. So if I click on it, place my order, I have a reference number here, work order number. You can still put in a message. Place order. That's my order number. Now you'll notice at that point, see now it changed from PartsTech to O'Reilly because now it's going to be that specific vendor that that order went to. So to receive it, I click. I can open my purchase order, verify everything. If I need to put in a specific supplier invoice number, go ahead and do it. And then I go receive. So that's a typical single part lookup, order, and receive. So the next step here, let's go look up a couple of different jobs. So I want to look up two different jobs, two different parts, and I want to look it up and bring parts back from two different vendors using PartsTech. So I click, box it in, catalog lookup. We start working our way down the jobs. So there's my labor time. I apply it. Now I'm going to go over to PartsTech. So there's an air filter from AutoZone. I'm going to add that to the cart. And we're going to click the blue arrow and bring that back. Then we'll go look up a belt. Go back over to PartsTech again. Let's go to O'Reilly. No results. Let's see here. Let's go to Napa. There we go. So if this is the belt that I want, add to cart, blue arrow, apply. So I brought two different parts back from two different vendors. So here's what's going to happen. In my purchases, it's just going to start off with PartsTech. Now all I have to do when I'm ready is I click on one of them, place the order, Again, I can put a message in, place my order here. It's going to send the order through. And what it's going to do is separate it out by vendor. So when I click on OK, see now it is all separated by each vendor. So again, to receive, I just simply click, open my PO, verify everything, change my invoice if I need to, receive, that's in. And then when the other one comes in, same thing again. So as you can see, I could go in there and pull parts from multiple vendors, doesn't matter. When it places the order, it's going to split them all up per vendor. And then everything is received in. So what happens if I'm working on a job, and we'll just say a water pump. Now, I'm not going to add a bunch of extra packages here, but I want to go look up some extra parts. So I click OK. And again, the only part line I have here is the water pump line. So if I just start on this line even, I can go to catalog here or right click here. I'm going to load PartsTech. So first thing I'm going to do is look for a water pump. And we'll go look for one here. That's a timing set. There's a water pump there. You notice Napa's got one. AutoZone supposedly has 5. Let's see what Napa has. There's a water pump. So if this is the one I want, I add to cart. Now I'm going to go look for something else. Well, they don't have it. Nobody has it. Well, we'll use this water outlet. Add to cart. And we're going to go do one more part. Could be anything. Let's just look for a cabin filter. And now we have cabin filter. Let's go do O'Reilly. We'll add that to the cart. So if you think about it, we added 3 different parts to that one cart, even though we're working off of one line. Once I'm ready, I hit the blue arrow. There's all 3 parts. And I apply. So you can look up multiple parts, different types of parts. What if I want to pull this line and put it up here? I can do that too. I can click and just drag it up. So if when I go to purchases again, there's all 3 parts waiting to be ordered. Click on a part, doesn't matter which one. Place order. Send my order through. And now it's going to split it by each vendor. So there's my confirmation. There's each individual part. And then as these show up, I receive, receive, receive. That's all there is to it. So you can look up single parts with PartsTech. You can pull multiple parts with PartsTech with multiple vendors. The other thing is when you bring the part back, start to bring it back, it will double check to see if you have it in inventory already, which is going to be real important for items that you normally stock. And everything will be separated by each individual vendor. Go back to my work order and everything is received. Need a little labor here on my water pump, and we're actually done with this ticket. And it's ready to go.